We have quite a few storms to talk about Tuesday afternoon, November 18th. United Cajun Navy meteorologist Amy Metz here. We have some information about the storms in Alaska on our Facebook, on our Instagram right now for United Cajun Navy. There's a couple storm systems that are affecting snowfall in that area. Nothing out of season in particular. Last night, the winds were pretty strong, over 50 miles per hour with the gusts. But things are overall calming down in that area, with the next winter storms being more temperate. As far as the United States is concerned, we do have quite a few strong storms in southern Illinois, in the southwest also. Some of these are getting into Indiana Tuesday afternoon. And so, what we're seeing, one that passed by Decatur earlier had just a ton of lightning. Along with that, some hail, about quarter size hail, was seen in that area. And so, I'll open up some of these storm reports and let the radar play through, where you can see quite a few small clusters of storm cells have passed by. So, 1.01 inches is what was observed for the hail size just outside of Shelbyville to the east of there. Again, a little over an inch by an emergency manager. These are from Coles County. And as these storms continue, it looks like the one, the past Decatur, definitely has decreased in its intensity. I'll back out a little so you can watch what passed Decatur earlier today, and then we'll get into the southwest where we do have some storms bringing severe weather to the west of Phoenix. So in this past about 10 minutes, we see that north of Charleston, between there and Urbana, and I'll slow this down a bit, that storm cluster that earlier impacted Decatur has really kind of decreased in the size of those droplets. We see the decibels, the colors get less bright after it passes Decatur. So strong winds were there. Not the worst case for winds, but the hail was probably the bigger problem here, just like it was yesterday in Missouri. So some of that storm activity is moving into Indiana now. I don't suspect at this hour, since it's already getting into the afternoon, after we've already had our time change, that this time of year, the storms are going to overall start calming down a little bit, but the ones heading toward Indianapolis, I would say over the next couple hours, they do have a chance to intensify as things are evolving here. I would expect that these storm cells are going to continue with some hail chances and possibly even increase in the winds and the size of hail. We see that passing Sullivan, going up toward Cloverdale right now. Looks like south of Plainfield and South Indianapolis would have a chance for some of those storms. Edinburgh, with this set that's further to the south. So that would be around, probably in the next hour that the storms would be that far away, the cities I just named. The rest of this storm system, it is going to bring some snow out east of the Great Lakes, but again, nothing unseasonable in that case. We can see Honolulu over there. Well, not even really Honolulu, but the Big Island getting quite a bit of rain right now, also. But what we'll focus on next is the heavy downpours that are expected in Las Vegas. That's going to be coming into the Las Vegas region, more like the Red Rocks, a little bit to the east of there, just like what we're seeing just east of the main city in Arizona. So we'll zoom in on this one first. Just outside of Phoenix, heading toward Glendale, we do have some severe storm activity going on there. So I'll play this radar loop for you too and get you the latest stats on what's going on inside of that storm. Is that we're seeing 60-mile-per-hour wind and quarter size hail. So that's going to be heading toward Peoria as well. I'll go ahead and pause it once it gets a little closer to now. So these storms aren't moving terribly fast. You can see they're just starting up here in Avondale about 12:10 Pacific time. And so as they get closer into Glendale here in the next 10-15 minutes, there is that chance for hail all the way to Surprise. Between there and Glendale, you see those areas of this storm that have the purples. That's going to be an indication of exactly where that hail is more likely to be. So I would definitely suggest watching the radar before driving if you're in any of these zones, or the aerial flood watches, which will also be seeing all the way toward, excuse me, all the way toward Las Vegas. Unfortunately, right around lunchtime, we see all of these greens outlined because of what I'm sure is in the warning here is floods. A stream gauge along Jackrabbit Wash, this is east of Phoenix, in Maricopa County, was indicating increased flow in the wash. So the low water crossing in that case was impossible. This is the same region that I posted about this morning where there were road closures. And so that's also on our Facebook page, which is linked below. But the next area to watch for, this is going to be right around 12:30 Pacific time on Tuesday, lasting all the way through, I would say, the commuting hour, as this heavy rain has just been slowly building on the mountain. So if you think about where it's draining toward, those are going to be the areas that are going to be the most impacted. And so Las Vegas is not far away from this area and is also included in that green outline for the aerial flood watches. Definitely check your radar and just be cautious of the fact that it's still raining. And so, in those cases, if while you're driving it's still raining or the water is still flowing downhill, you can maybe be passing a road that looks like it might just barely be okay to get through still, but the water in some of these cases can rise very quickly as the drainage is occurring. So just be mindful if you have an option to take a higher route home or a different time of day before it gets worse. Those are the kind of things that I would normally do in those situations. Always just turn around if there's a problem, because I do suspect that in the next few hours, just like we see with these other road closures out to the east from the same system, I think that that's going to be happening near Las Vegas. Now out toward the west over the last couple days, this was mostly the 16th and 17th. Southern California experienced a lot of what Northern California had from the atmospheric river days earlier, which was rock slides, landslides all over the place. And so, with today's severe storms kind of being wrapped up, we know that there's the bubble around the Southern California, Southern Nevada area, all the way through most of Arizona as we go through the day. That's mostly for aerial flood watches and thunderstorms. But then it's the severe weather. I'll go ahead and before I switch to some Thanksgiving stuff here, I'll put up all of our information that we have from the Storm Prediction Center. Their storm outlook here is now showing up. And so we do see that there is a spot of stronger storms, which if that just got updated, that's odd. I'm going to make sure right now that that's right. And then I have a message here from one of our storm chasers I'll share with you that just came in. So SPC Outlook Day 1 did not look like that a moment ago. And it hasn't. But if it changed, I'll know here in just a moment, or else, no, yeah, it definitely changed. So they upgraded that yellow is a slight risk, just meaning a level 2 out of 5 rather than the 1. So the dark green is level 1. And typically, within the slight, it just means that there's a higher probability that some of those storms are going to be passing by. There is a chance within that zone. I'll circle on the map here. Southern Indiana, southern Illinois for tornadoes into western Kentucky, kind of a hot spot there. We know there's been quite a few across those valleys that'll kind of jump up and down. So be mindful of that as we go through the day. So strong winds, hail, and then some tornadoes are possible. And this is the same area we've been warning about. It's just that it's brand new, that they upgraded that risk. And so we'll kind of dig into that a little bit too with some of the water vapor and another imagery. But just to give a real good visual, clear visual of where these storms are today, this is that area where it's mostly in the southwest going to be the floods, and then even the tornado risk along Kentucky and Tennessee. So you can also go ahead to the Cajun Navy weather app and get a lot of the same information that you're seeing here on the screen right on your cell phone with our free app. So it's also powered by Baron. But I kind of I want to use, I think, one different resource for this next part. just looking at the available moisture because there is a great resource here that it's hard to find really on any of the kind of rebroadcasting software. But this is going to show us just straight up satellite imagery that I use as a forecaster often, especially for tropical cyclones. But in this case, it went ahead and just bumped the wrong, it just moved around the globe for whatever reason. So here we are with the United States back in view. And it's typical that what we're looking at now is the middle level of the atmosphere and it's water vapor. So if I zoom really close, you'll be able to see where the air is kind of mashing up. When we get convergence, when we get, because this is now how I would be forecasting the likelihood of those tornadoes, I can see that there is some difluence, some upper level winds that are going away from one another, and that can open up low pressures up above, and that's happening over by Texas. That's going to be the very, very beginnings of the next cold front starting up on Wednesday in Texas and Oklahoma. But what that means for the region here is that it's outflowing just a little bit. You see a little bit of a storm cloud. Really, they're not even probably storms in this case. We're seeing just clouds, but tropical moisture remnant cloud. That's the big difference here, and the reason why it can instigate tornadoes. Once we have air that's drier and cooler clashing up with this, it's that area where they come into contact with one another that becomes the most turbulent. And it's just simply laws of thermodynamics, things like that gases want to equalize. So things try to organize and stack themselves in the right order of temperature, density. And in doing so, when we have these mashups of air, it becomes the most likely place for tornado development. And so it's great to see we don't have a lot of moisture available. That's the number one key ingredient for a thunderstorm to begin with, which you need to have in place for a tornado. So I do believe there will be not, it's definitely not going to be some big outbreak, but some of these little bits of cloud later on could start to have more moisture with them. And if I go ahead and switch even, let's look at what's going on a little bit higher in the sky, because the upper levels can also produce that kind of thunderstorm activity. And hopefully it loads. Sometimes I have to refresh this lately. It has been a little slow lately. So we're still on the mid levels, but here comes the upper levels. And so, yeah, still not any big indicator to me that it's going to be a lot of tornadoes, but there is that chance where those thunderstorms develop that they could definitely be brief spin ups. And in the Kentucky, Tennessee valleys, tend to just kind of bounce up and down, depending on where those hills are and different rivers. So just stay aware. Make sure you have some ways to get alerts in that area as we go through the night. Again, that's going to be for that tornado risk zone. And nothing new on the map aside from what I had just mentioned earlier. And oh, a downgrade. That's even better. So good. Things that we had talked about happening. One of them good, one of them not so great. Out by Phoenix near Glendale, that's where that severe thunderstorm decreased its intensity. It's no longer a severe thunderstorm as of 12:33 Pacific time. But the storm that we were watching in Indiana that had come from southern Illinois, now this one does have an extension in that thunderstorm, as it kind of had looked like. So I'll take off that other graphic and zoom in a little more. So these would be hail and then some strong winds that we're looking at toward Edinburgh. And then it looks like it's dying off toward Greensburg. So not a huge lifespan. It was kind of looking like it would not last very long, but get stronger still as we were looking at this about 15 minutes ago. And I was saying that just simply because of how I was seeing these air masses coming together and also leaving one another, having to do with that convergence, divergence kind of topic that I was just looking at for the water vapor. But all in all, nothing out of season so far. nothing very major. Hopefully, people have stayed safe. I know Decatur is pretty populated, and we'll see if there were any other storm reports there aside from the hail. But it looks like just a large, widespread storm with a few clusters of hail. This one, 1.36 inches. So that's a stronger one coming in from Christian. He says that, let's see, the city, southwest Pana. So that one's closer to Taylorville. And then right after that, another person says it went to 1.15 inches. So, yeah, almost an inch and a half there at the biggest is what we had with the hailstorm there that passed near Decatur. And probably, usually they all pretty much follow after that. They're getting a little smaller and smaller as we head west, excuse me, moving to the east. So as it evolved, it got smaller, closer to about 1 inch until that finally died off. So that same storm right now is also just downgraded. No more severe storm. That just happened along the border there into Indiana, south of Danville. So this is about into Harris. And I used to work out in Illinois, so shout out to everybody there. I always enjoyed working for WAND and from my house right here in my basement, actually. So some of the people said there's an opening there now, and they wanted me to try and apply again. But yeah, Terre Haute, it's this summer that I would drive through a lot, and it's beautiful. I would go see everybody that I could that had watched. But going toward Paris right now, this is where we still see that severe thunderstorm. So the back end of it did downgrade. What we're seeing then is that as this next storm system that just dropped that 1.5, almost 1.36 inch hail, at the largest observed data that we found, then it went to about 1 inch. We're seeing that there's still the chance for some hail in the storm because I'm noticing that out toward Paris, it does look like it's getting stronger again. And so even out by Phoenix, after that storm downgraded, I'm seeing some reports here that another part of it has again gone to severe weather. So checking some other information here, seeing that there's 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts, but we're not getting any. Wanted to see if there were any more hail reports from Paris, because it looks to me, I'm going to pause it where I see the possibility of more hail developing. And then I'll even open up a special tool that we have. Because here we go, almost looked like a hail core was forming and now it's gone down again. But there is another tool that we have from Barron that talks about hail. So it'll kind of tell you if like what the hail paths were. And there's a whole nother one that shows the possibility of hail. So trying to find where that one is. But for now, I'll let this play with the hail path that's there. Critical weather indicators, that's the name. So yeah, there's a special tool here with Barron. We'll see if it picks up any chance of additional hail in the forecast. And it's not in this area. It did a great job, I noticed, in a couple rounds of storms of picking up tornadoes and forecasting that before they touch down. So earlier, I said also, as you can see the purple tracks, this is where the hail had been. So we're not getting a bunch of reports where it's less populated south of 57, but it looks like there was even larger hail in that area. According to this radar, this would be larger than probably 2 inches with this tone that we're seeing there. So I'll play this out and read the text here from our storm chaser, Scott, because I had asked him, if he's going to be out getting any footage. So it looks like he will be out chasing storms. He's positioned in Texas typically, and we'll keep you updated then. What forms on Wednesday night into Thursday could have some more aerial flash floods and some strong thunderstorms like we're seeing now. Some hailstorms are possible. And then that's, of course, going to be from that next system that is passing the southwest now. So I'm going to go ahead and end this stream and let you know we'll keep updating things in Alaska. I'm happy that the weather is good in Jamaica where we are doing more relief efforts. I've been telling them nothing to worry about in that area. It's going to be pretty typical weather, warm, sunny, and then some of the mountains get a little rain, just about every afternoon, some light rain that they're used to. So here's what's left over on the map. Not not looking the best in the Southwest as far as the flood risk goes, but just know before you go and stay safe out there. I hope that people can do that. And yeah, if you have any questions, let us know in the comments. I'll keep things updated online. And we are seeing, I'm just surprised here what I'm checking out. Yeah, it's very small still that this severe thunderstorm is still in Phoenix, but they have it outlined again. And so it is one storm cluster. I was just checking another source just to make sure everything lines up because, again, things are changing rapidly with some of these warnings. It's not typical that we would get what's called the special weather statement in this tan color at the same time that we're getting the severe storm warning. They kind of overlap and coincide, but that is just something that is going on right now. I wanted to make sure I wasn't missing anything before I got off here, but we can stop this and pause it and check out the hail tracks here before I close off. So again, we're getting no reports southwest of Phoenix from the hail, but according to our monitors here, this would indicate at least 1 inch hail falling within this storm. It did indicate quarter size, which looks like this pink tone here, not not comparing to that 1 inch tone that we're seeing further to the south. But still, quarter-inch hail is in the warnings for this storm. You can get all of the severe weather alert warnings on our weather app. That's going to be Cajun Navy weather app. There's links to stuff like that in the description. For instance, if you just go right to our website, it's going to pop up with some direct links to the Apple Store or the Google Play Store where you can download the app for free. Sign up for different areas or your own, and you'll be able to get alerts like this and have it notify you if there's going to be something coming your way that you should be aware of. So Vulture Mine's another low water crossing. This was the newest one. It says water rescue reported in the wash. So yeah, again, please be careful about trying to drive through these, especially while things are still active, because even if it's not raining on you, it could be 20 miles away, and this water is, needing somewhere to flow. So if you're in one of those further down the slopes kind of areas or somewhere that water pools or passes by, be mindful of the fact that it's still rising. And so something might look safe to pass, low water crossings might be okay, but if you don't actually get out and look with your eyes and make sure that upstream's okay, nothing's coming your way, even if you do that, because of the washouts, it can still be dangerous if there's a hole on that road or something has actually given way with landslides like we saw so many in California over the last week. So please stay safe out there. We'll continue to bring you updates and hope that that water rescue was successful. More information to come.